Welcome to our workshop. I'm Edison Guo. Today, me and Mr. An, we're going to present you about our TIO workshop. Welcome again.
Hi, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, no problem here. Yeah.
All right, without further ado, let's get started. So my name is Edison Guo. So I'm a channel manager from Gloden. And this is Mr. An, our channel technical manager from Gloden. So today we're going to present you 5D BIM quantity takeoff for architecture and structure, TIO version. So this is the outline for today. So first we're going to present you guys talk about a little bit about our parent company, Gloden, then our software, Cubicost. So second is Mr. An will show you guys about our digital measurement, about how we use our software in a real customer testimony. Then third part is a question and answers. All right, let's get started. So Cubicost. Cubicost, the quantity serving measurement softwares from presented by Gloden. So for our parent company, Gloden. So Gloden is as you guys can see, it's an international company. So we have 5D RD centers, so which is located in Beijing, Shanghai, Xi'an, Finland, and USA, Silicon Valley. We have more than 60 branches and more than 9,000 employees all over the world. And also our customer from more than 100 countries. And we clubbed with more than 1,600 colleagues and universities. So here are some of our clients, our users. They are including world-leading consulting companies such as Arcadius, you guys already know, almost the #1 consulting company in this field in the world, RLB, AECOM, Northcroft, WT Partnership. They're all big companies. They're all using our Cubicost as their measurement softwares. So also our users including contractor leading companies, for example, Obayashi, Shimizu, Samsung, also China State Construction. So they are using our software actually in multiple countries and more than 1,000 projects. And also developer such as Sabuka Juro, almost the top 1 developer company from Singapore, and Agua Pomod, top 1 developer from Malaysia, EcoWorld, and Godrej Property. Actually, Godrej Property is you guys already know from top 1 developer from India. So they are actually using our Cubicost as their default 5D quantity takeoff softwares in multiple countries. So basically, this is the position of our Cubicost. So because by the word, it's very hard to define our position of our the logic of our Cubicost. So that's why I want to show you guys about this picture, this slide. This slide will give you a clear idea about our Cubicost logical based on our software. So for example, as you guys can see, there's a traditional method, 2D based software, and also BIM based softwares. So for our softwares, so for traditional method, if you follow the traditional method, you guys already know you use the design software and you do the QS softwares, and then so it takes a lot of time and takes a lot of labors. Very easy to make mistakes. Then you get to the 2D based software. So for example, it's AutoCAD, and then you have CostX, PlanSwift, Candy. They're gonna save you some time, but it's and they're gonna make it faster, save you some labor, but still they follow the same logic. So they still follow the traditional master logic. Then we come to the BIM based software. It's a Revit. So if you use design software, it's Revit, but for the QS software, it's our Cubicost. So we follow the BIM philosophy. That's why it's totally different between the 2Ds and the traditional method. That's why I put here the anti-logic is such as riding a bike, riding a motorcycle, and driving a car. So our Cubicost, when you use the Cubicost, it's faster, easier, and more comfortable. Why is that? Let me explain to you. So if you follow the traditional method, traditional way to do the quantity takeoff. So first you read the drawing and you measure the length, and you need to tabulate the numbers one by one and create formula, everything, and generate report. Yes, that will take you tons of times and a lot of labor, and it's very easy to make mistakes. You have to remember everything manually, and you have to do everything manually. Very troublesome. So how about 2Ds? You guys may wonder. So 2Ds is still it's faster. You read the drawing, you use the 2D software, they create the formula, they generate a report. It's still the same. If come to our 3D BIM, so when you got your drawing, it doesn't matter it's 2D or 3D. Once you import your drawing to our software, from here we're gonna do we call it QS modeling, because everything is based on the quantity takeoff point of view. So you do the BM QS modeling from in here. Then after that, the report will be generated automatically. You don't have to remember any expressions or the formulas. Everything is automatically. So just by simple clicks, and you will get your report. Very easy and very hard to make a mistake. So this is basically our whole suite of our Cubicost. So we have 4 software in our Cubicost. As I said, today we're gonna focus on the TS, because it's TS, TIO. And but here is a quick look of our whole suite. So TS is Takeoff for architecture and structures. So all your takeoffs from architecture structure will be in this TS, this software. So TRB is Takeoff for reinforcement bar. All the reinforced bar information will be done from here. Then TME, Takeoff for MEP. So this whole suite is all for the quantity takeoff. After you do your quantity takeoff, everything will be linked to our final software. So TBQ. TBQ is to prepare our final tender documents. So, and also the collaboration with TBQ is called e-tender. E-tender is a automatically e-tendering system. So from here you can link with your material libraries, price libraries, and you can do the subcontracting from here. So this is basically the whole suite of our software. So this one is still the logic of our software. I just want to emphasize the logic of our Cubicost. So from here, you use a 2D drawing. It doesn't matter to PDF, DW image, or you have 3D model like Revit. Everything you just import to our software here. From here, we do the quantity takeoff. Then after we've done the quantity takeoff, all the data will be dynamically linked to our TBQ. And from here, you prepare your final tender documents. Then your report will be generated automatically. Like you see, this is one click, everything auto calculation. You don't have to worry about anything. So from here, the software will do everything for you. So basically, based on our past experience, after you use our software, so the measurement will be 4 times faster, the checking will be 10 times faster, accuracy will be high as 98%. And that sounds amazing. What's more amazing, I will get to that, is our TIO version of TAS. So basically, our TS for architecture and structure, TRB for rebar, and then after we done the quantity takeoff, everything will link to TBQ. So from here, so basically our software will done your whole process from the beginning to the end. So from the BIM quantity takeoff to the BIM costing. That's all our Cubicost. We can cover everything. So we finally get to our TS version introduction. So for TS, we have 2 versions. One is TS Pro. So TS Pro is for the QS who mainly receive drawing in PDF DWG format. And then we get to the TS TIO. So TIO stands for Takeoff in One Step. So it's for the QS who need to deal with Revit models, designer, BIM engineers who need to get quantities. So for our TIO, so you can enhance the IFC models, Revit models, and when will our TS TIO handle the Revit and the TFC Revit model very well. So our TS TIO version So basically, you got your Revit FFC, and you direct import the model to our TIO. From here, we will do the BMQS model and the BIM quantity takeoff. Then all the data will be linked to DBQ, as I said before. So all the report will be generated automatically. You may wonder, so Revit is also can do the costing, can do the same things, but the data they calculate is not as accurate as ours, and we have we embed all the calculated rules. You don't have to worry about anything. After you done everything, you generate the report, and then you can also double check all of the quantity process. You can, and in the report you can actually customize your report to find out the data which you need, or your clients or your colleague or boss needed. So basically, so our TIO version, so is how efficient they are. So we actually have a survey. So the survey we did is 50,000 kilometers program. If you use our TIO version, it actually only will take you 20 minutes with 1 QS. So if you use the manual way with 1 QS, guess how longer will you take? So the 1 QS, if you use the manual way, will take 2 weeks for the same project. So we'll actually save you more than 100 faster, make your life way easier. So this is basically still the logic of our Cubicost. So you got the hard copy scan PDF drawing, and or you got then you import that to our software. So it doesn't matter it's 2D or 3D or FC Revit, then you import it to our software. Then from our software, the software will do the quantitative takeoff for you, and all the rules will already embedded to our software. So in our software, later on, Mr. An will show you guys how to do in the software. And so in the software, you can customize everything, basically all the things you needed. So as you guys can see, all the modeling rules is embedded with all the measurement rules is embedded with software, and everything is auto calculation. So just by simple clicks. So everything is the report will be generated also automatically, only 1 click. Then after a very quick process, you guys will got the quantitative report, and also you can customize the report as well. So after that, Mr. An will show you guys the digital measurement rule with our TS. Thank you guys. Mr. An, please.
Okay, thanks Edison. Thank you for the introduction. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. Okay, so let's get started with our workshop for today. The title is Experience Quantity Takeoff in One Step. So I am Ang Chenton. I'll be the presenter for our technical part. So introduction to TIO. What is TIO and what are the benefits that TIO can bring to you and your team? Basically, TIO stands for taking off quantity in 1 click, intelligently taking off. So how is it called one step? Basically, here you can see we have the BIM model, and then we can import it. Let me play this back. Okay, so basically you have your BIM model here on the left-hand side. Then we will import that into Cubicost in TIO, and it will generate quantities after we have clicked on calculation. So here, you will see that it will generate the report and generate all of the quantities based on all of the elements. These are all the elements that we have gotten from the Revit model. Some of the benefits that TIO can bring to some of the construction parties out there, for example, developer. One of the main advantage is that it will bring faster cost plan. This is because developer usually they will have their own design team. Their own design team, they will design a model, and then from that model they can have a 3D model. Then by using TIO, they can get the quantities within just 10-20 minutes. So they will allow faster cost plan, And of course, it will deal with rapid changes as well. This is because whenever they have any addendum drawings or any addendum models, they can just import the new model into TIO, and TIO will do a comparison and showing you whether there are any addition, omission, or even changes based on the models. And of course, it will also help us to check the downstream work. Moving on to the QS consultants, there are also several benefits. The first one is, of course, faster quantity report and BQ. QS consultants, usually they need to prepare a series of documents for the BOQ. And by using TIO, they can also get the quantities rapidly from the model. And then they can do the quantity linking from the model into TBQ to generate a BQ. So it'll be way, way faster. Now, second one, this is a similar benefit. We can deal with rapid changes as well for any designs or any changes in the models. The next one is lifecycle BIM-based cost management. As a QS consultant company, you need to manage all of the costs, the quantities, all the information in a project. So by using TIO, you can easily manage all of that. And last but not least, of course, for contractors as well. For contractors, all of the quantities for us is very important because for contractors, you need to measure everything one by one or in very detailed manner. For a contractor, we need to do a lot of claims, and then you need to do all the soft works, which is why all the quantities are so important. Now, for TIO, as long as the elements are in the model, it will calculate the quantity. And again, it will also deal with the rapid changes in the model. So no matter you receive any Revit model or even 2D drawing changes, you can still import the Revit model or manually change the items or even elements. And of course, once you have the changes or even the model, you can do fast calculation. Then you will have the quantity changes. For Revit or even IFC models, they can be used in all of the construction stages. So the first one being design stage, the tendering stage, the construction stage, and even the handover and operation stage. So throughout all of these stages, you can whether receive a Revit model, 2D drawings, whichever, but here we are focusing on Revit file or even IFC. If you have the models, you import it into TIO, all of the data, they are 100% imported, meaning there are no data loss at all. So of course, this will definitely help us with the lifecycle BIM management as all the information in the model is very, very important. Okay, now again, on the left-hand side, you can see this is the Revit model. Usually the developers or even the designers, they have completed the model, then they can either use TIO for themselves or they can just pass this model to the QS consultants or any QS companies. Then they can also utilize the TIO to take out the quantities. So once you have import the Revit model into TAS or TIO, it will look something like this. Basically, it's like a replica, but it will be using the entities based on TIO. So basically, TIO increases your profit by reducing cost. Why do we say this? This is because based on the project just now, that was an estimated project of around 50,000 meters square. So usually if by the traditional way, one QS might take about 4 weeks to finish the measurement for that building. Now, if we look back at the building, I'm guessing there are around 4 to 5 floors for the parking. And then for the building itself, 2 towers consisting maybe 20 to 30 floors here. So typically for one QS, it might take up to 1 month, but by using TIO, it only takes 20 minutes as long as you have the model, the 3D model. Then it will generate the quantities, the report under 20 minutes. So imagine how fast that would be if you're using TIO. So before we move on to show you how it works in the actual demo, I would like to introduce or have you understand a little bit more of the basic concept of using TIO. So here are some of the content. The first one, of course, we are going to explain on the import Revit workflow. Then we are going to explain on how we calculate the quantity and do some checking. Then we can do some architectural quantification. And if you have any Revit changes, we can do that as well. It will also be explained. And last one will be project simulation. We will show you live on how the 3D models work in TIO. Now, sometimes there are people with question of, is BIM models fit for quantity takeoff? So actually, before we do any quantity takeoff, we need to understand the model that we receive from the modelers. So for example, there are a few images here. You can see that even though we have already received the model, it's not always that the model is 100% correct. There might be some errors because, well, modelers are human as well, so human errors exist. So you can see like the beam is out here like this, and then the door is supposed to be here, but it's now right here. And you can see some of the errors. Okay, so these are some of the stuff that you might need to double check before you do some quantity takeoff. For the previous time, usually if we want to view the BIM models, usually we would use a Revit or even Autodesk viewer. But for now, as long as you have TIO, you can just import the model into TIO. You can view the model. Not only that, you can get accurate quantity. Now, why do we specify that we can get accurate quantities? This is because our software has embedded measurement rules. So for example, whether you're using SMM2, SMM7, NRM2, all of those, we have those rules ready. So as long as you choose the appropriate rules, you just import the 3D model, then the quantities will be based on that. Now, not only that, all of the overlapping quantities, including all the openings, for example, all the windows and doors here, the software will do auto deduction. So the quantities are net, which is why we say that it's quite accurate. Now, when we are viewing the model, we need to check some of the content of the model. So here are three main aspects. First one is how many floors, what is the building type, the shape and the sizes. This is because there are many projects out there. So what are the element category and types? The second one is the details. So details meaning to cross-check with the element ID, because from the Revit file, they have many type of ID or even elements. Now the last one, the plan which quantities are required to be extracted. For a Revit model, not only do they have elements, they might have some quantities such as a number, meter run, meter square, or even meter cube. So you need to understand what type or what kind of quantity that you want to get from the BIM model. Moving on, here are two main flow, I would say, of TIO. The first one, of course, we need to import the model. After we have selected the file to import, we need to do some element settings. I'll explain more on this later. Now, once we have imported the model, we need to do some model checking first. As I said before, the models done in Revit, they can be accurate, but there might be some errors there. So you need to check. Once we have done with the checking, we can do the calculate quantity, which means we can get our quantity report. Then if we want to do quantity check as well, we can do that. So the basic workflow will be something like this. So we import the Revit version. If you have multiple files, for some cases, if you are running a very big project, you might have multiple Revit files. So you can either import the models one by one, or you can import everything together. So it'll be joined together as one. And next one, we have the floor settings. For every project, we have to set a reference floor. And then we have to match all of the element settings. So the main ones are the element match and also material match, which I'll also explain later. And the last one is to do model preview. But before we do a model preview, we need to set an insertion point. So in TIO, it will look something like this. Once we have selected the import Revit file function, we first have to select project file to import. So in some cases, we have to double check on the files that we import because some of the files we selected might not be correct. So you show this one. The version of file is not supported. Moving on, like I mentioned before, if you have multiple files of the Revit, you can import them consecutively, or you can just import one by one. For example, like this, you have L2, L3 to 13, and so on. You import one of the file first, then you import the second one, the third, and then you import the last one. For the next settings, in the floor settings, it will look something like this. It will show you all of the floors that you have in the model, including all of the height, the bottom elevation, and of course, the reference floor as well. The reference floor is something like a floor where you set as a reference, which is why it's called reference floor. So you need to set this one. Then, once you have set all the settings, here you have to have like different settings. If you import multiple files at once, it will have a prompt message like this, meaning to say maybe one file and the second file, they have different elevation. Then you have to use the reversely create zone. When you click on this function, it will follow the previous settings. Now, once you have done all of those settings, we move on to the element settings. Here, the things get kind of interesting. If you have used Revit before, you will understand that in Revit, we have all of the materials for each of the elements. Once you have import the model into TAS or TIO, it will actually generate each of those entities into type in TAS and also material in TAS. For example, let's look at the first one. We are actually looking at wall. So all of these here are walls. The first one is clad white. So we have identified this as a wall finish. And the material type we have identified as Revit material imported, or some of it we have already identified as brick or even some other materials. So you get the idea of how this works. Now, there are some other entities which are not really, say, a natural entity or element. Those entities that do not exist in TIO, which is why they are categorized under default or generic. If you see from here, it is actually items like a post pole, a sofa, all of those materials. Those are not really the structural items. So right here, we have to set. For example, if you do want the quantities for these items, you can set them as custom area, custom line, or even custom point. So from here, you just select which type of material or even quantity that you want. The last one, we have to set the insertion point of the model. Okay, now usually in this step, we do not change the insertion point because TAS or TIO has already provided us with an insertion point. Now, after we have imported our model, finally, we need to do some quantity check because there are some cases where there are only read-only objects. So if in the Revit model, we have read-only objects, we need to change to get quantity. So if you see from here, normal object, meaning all of the objects that we can import into TIO, those are without any issue, so no worries. But you need to take note on the read-only objects. You can only copy, move, or even delete. So if you want to change the sizes or the details of that object, you need to delete and then you can redraw or something like that. So it depends on what you want or what you need from the model. Moving on, we have the Revit changes. Revit changes, again, is like you have any addendum models, you just import into TIO, and we can get the quantity change from there. To give you a better idea, it will look something like this. Once you have added the addendum model, it will show you multiple colors. So the first one is green. Green, it means added. Yellow means modified. Red means that it's deleted. So in the model itself, it will also show or highlight the entities in colors. So it will give you a better idea on what are the changes here. And of course, in the quantity sense, it will show you the quantity, the base quantity, and of course the VO quantity. Now, with the Revit changes, you can finally find out the differences of the two Revit models without much issues. Try to imagine if you are really doing this by just using a normal software, or if you're just trying to find out the changes one by one. How long would that take? By using TIO, all of those changes are identified easily and automatically, and the results will be shown on the models. So these are some of the sample projects we have imported in TIO. So no matter you are using, whether you are measuring for a condo, high-rise building, or even like this is something like a stadium or a very big project like this, you can still import all of those and get quantities. Without further ado, let us move on to the live demo. So right here we have TAS, the TIO version. Now I'm going to create a new project. When I'm creating a new project, we can select from a series of measurement rules or measurement settings. So from here, you can see we actually have multiple rules such as UAE, NRM2, SMM7, all of those. So basically, we choose the rules that are that we apply to our projects. Then we can rename the projects. Then we just create. From here on, the software will load all of those measurement settings or calculation rules into our project. Then right here, we can start. To import our 3D model, we can go to the BIM model. Then we just click on Import Revit File. So from the slides earlier, we have to click here. And we have to select our file. So here, I'm going to select a base file first. The revision one, this is actually the addendum project. So here, I'll choose the base file. I click open. And while we wait for it to load, okay, done. So right here, it will show you all of the floors. You can see all of the floor height as well. So again, from here, we need to first choose the reference floor. Usually, we will choose the ground floor or the first floor. So it'll be this one. Then we can just click on next. As I've explained earlier, all of the elements that we have in the beam model will be shown here. So you can see we have the beam, the column, slab, wall, and even generic. Generic is the one that I've mentioned before where it does not show any quantity, but you can actually set whether you want it to be a custom point, area, or line. Then you will be able to get a quantity there. So let's check for beam. For beam, if you can see, the material type in Revit is actually concrete cast in situ. So once we have already imported into TAS or TIO, you can see that it will identify this as a beam and the material as in situ concrete. If we ever need to change any of this information, you can just click on it and you can just choose. So for example, maybe this one is supposed to be column. It's wrong. So you can just choose as column. You'll be highlighted in blue. Then maybe for this one, you find this is in situ concrete, but it's supposed to be something else. So you just click and just choose. Something like this, okay? So here I'm just going to change this back. Once you have double checked on all of this, so let's assume that all of the type and the materials are already correctly identified. Then you just click on next. So here it will take some time to load the whole model. So keep in mind that the bigger of the model that you have, the longer that it will take. Okay, so again, from the insertion point here, we do not need to click anything. We just go with OK. Then now it will show you a message that the model has been completed. So you can see from here, we do not need to create any model. We do not need to generate anything at all. We just import and we have the whole model. So it looks something like this. Now, previously we have always mentioned one-click calculation, one click to get quantities. So here we are going to show you why we label it as a one-click. So once we have already imported the model here, we go to Quantity tab, we just click on Calculate. Now with just click on this Calculate, we can calculate the whole quantity, all the quantities for the whole model, and generate a report. Now, do you remember earlier when we say that after you've imported the model, you need to do some quantity checking? So from here, the model check, it has some errors here. So the first one being the whole overlap, partial overlap, and others. So the main difference here is that the whole overlap, meaning that the whole entity has been overlapped with another one. Partial overlap meaning, for example, maybe a beam and another beam, they are partially overlapped, which is why they are categorized here. Maybe we can have a look. For the whole overlap, let's click on this entity. Now it will show you here. Okay. So if we click on this ID, the ID for 1610 is actually this one, the red color. If we click on this 1365, it's actually this blue color item here. So it is whole overlap. So we can either just force calculate. If we click force calculate, it will measure the quantities for both of these entities, meaning there will be extra quantities. So to fix all of this, we can just click on auto process. So now there will be no whole overlap. So we can proceed with the partial overlap. We just click on auto process. Basically, TIO will auto process all of the models and the entities. Then we can just proceed to calculation. Okay. Now, after waiting for a while, it will proceed to calculation. Okay, there you go. You can see that all of the red color items have now been returned to normal. So now we select all of our floors. We click OK. We wait for it to run, and we are done. So it only took around 8 seconds. 8 seconds to finish the quantity. Now we go to our view quantity by category. We view the whole project. And again, all of the elements that we have imported from the model will be shown here. And here we have all of the quantities. So for first floor until the 16th floor, we have all the quantities for column. This is the concrete volume, the area of formwork, how many columns are there, and the weight of rebar. This is the poundage formula. So you can already get a direct quantity. So you can check the wall as well. Wall opening, beam, all of this. So here I would like to show you another function. This is actually called set classification and quantity. What we can do with this is that if you need to customize your own report, you can actually come here, then you can just switch off or on, or maybe even adjust. For example, say I do not want to show the floor, so I can just, let's see, turn on the floor. And then let's say you want the concrete grade to be the first one. So click on concrete grade, you move it up, then you click OK. So now the report will be based on the settings that you have set. So you go with concrete grade, material, entity type. Now it won't show the floors anymore. So it show everything like this. So basically you get the idea. So here you can see even the wall finish, it will show the quantity here as well. If you need to export any of this quantity into Excel, maybe you need to do some manual adjustment, or maybe you need to send the quantity to your manager or clients, you can export to Excel. You select the elements that you need and click OK. Then from here, you can see the Excel format. It will be exactly the same with the one that you have set in TIO. The column, the wall, all of these. Now that we have a basic idea on how to import the model, let me show you on how we can deal with Revit changes. Okay, this is the model. Now we are going to go back to the function here. Now we are going to the Revit changes to compare with a new model. So right here we have, what we have here is the addendum model, a new model. We click on compare. Here we have to wait for a while for it to load and identify on the changes. Okay, so from here you can see there are some changes, mainly at the column, wall, and even generic. So now we just click next. From here you can see there are multiple colors. Like we have shown in the slides earlier, all of the changes will be marked with colors. So again, the green color meaning these are added. This will be added. The red color means deleted. So you can see the beams here are going to be deleted. And the yellow here means modified. Maybe they have changed into smaller size, longer, bigger size, all of those, as long as they are modified. So all of the slabs here are modified as well. And even some of the columns. So you can check like this. Now, let's say that you have already clicked on the Revit changes. You have already noticed where are the changes. So the next step is we have to accept the changes. Let's assume that you want to accept all of the changes for the added. So just select all of this, then click on accept changes. Now they are added to our model. So let's say the deleted items. If you do not want to accept the changes, you can just ignore this. Or if you want to accept the changes, of course, you select all of these and click accept changes. So I'm just going to accept all of this. And I click those. And there you have your addendum model. So, well, basically, this is how you can check the changes of your BIM model and get the quantities. Now, maybe let's try to import a few more models so that you have a better idea on what this software can do. Just now, the model that I have imported is a very basic one. So here, let me try to import a bigger file, a bigger project. So again, we are going to import the Revit file. We're going to choose this one. Okay, the loading here is actually longer because this is a bigger project. This has a lot more entities. So please remember, not only can we import the condominium projects, we also can import many other types of projects. So from here, we are going to show you a few models, which includes, okay, let's keep this a surprise. I'll import the model first, then you will see what type of project we have. So you can see there are like thousands of beams here, maybe a lot of entities here. So the better PC you have, the faster of the import will be. Okay, now I just click on OK. it will go through a series of loading again. And there you go. Now we just click on OK, and we have the model. This is just the bottom floor. And let's view the whole model. Okay. So here you can see this is actually a condominium, but this is a much bigger one. So there are around 7 or 8 floors of the car parks. So including the ramp, you can see the ramps here. You can see the car park area. You can see the lift area here. This is the ramp going up. So basically, this is a Revit model imported into TIO. Then let's turn to the back. Here you can see the whole condominium building. So here I'll assume this is the swimming pool, the staircase into the swimming pool, the outside area, the lift lobby, the staircases, and all of the units up here. So you can see everything that is inside a Revit model will be imported into TIO. Then you just follow the procedure of going to Quantity tab. You click on Calculate. Then you can auto process, or you can just force calculate. It's up to you which one you want to do. So let's force calculate for this one. And here it will do some calculations. This one, I think it'll mostly take a minute or two, but let's say if you have a gigantic, like a very huge one, a huge project, so it might take up to 10 or 20 minutes. Okay, so this one took around 22 seconds. Now let's have a look in the report. So with just a few clicks, you have the quantities for all of your entities, column, wall, ramp, slab opening, all of these, you'll be shown in the report. So imagine you receive a 3D model, you want to get the quantity for this building, you can get it in just a few minutes. Okay. What do you think so far? Is this okay? Yeah.
And 1 minute. The last example you have shown, this example you are not showing the changes happening with the Revit models and our TIO. What is the layers we are selecting? Something like that.
Sorry. What
the
layer?
last? No, the material. TIO material and compared to Revit material. Where you have done in this last model, you have not done it. The last example.
Oh, the last example, yeah. Because the last example, I only have the one model. I don't have the addendum models, which is why I only show it in the first one.
Okay.
So, for example, like the first one, as long as you have the addendum file, you can just use this one, the Revit changes. Then you can compare the changes between the old one and the new one. So right here, I'm just showing you on some other types of models that we can import, so that it will give you a better idea.
Okay.
No problem. So right here, I'm going to import another file. This will be a different one. Okay, so let's give this few seconds to load. Okay, there we go. Now we just click next. So I just clicked next. I didn't check on the materials because I just want to show you how the model looks like. So again, if you are proceeding to get the quantities, please make sure that you check on the types of the materials that we import from the Revit model. Okay, just now we have shown a condominium. So try to guess what kind of a project this is. Maybe a school, maybe a hospital, maybe a factory.
It looks steel composite, means factory maybe, or multi-floor towers.
Yes, that is quite accurate. So yeah, I'm surprised you actually noticed the steel components there. So let's have a look. I think it's almost ready. So since like you said, since there are steel components, it is mostly going to be a factory, a warehouse, or something like that. So let's see what this project is. Okay, so from here, it kind of looks like a factory or a warehouse, but I think they also kind of have like a showroom at the side, something like a showroom or storeroom, similar to that. So the red color items here, you can see these are all the steel components, the steel columns, the steel beams. So basically, this type of projects you can also import directly from the Revit file. So you can see the glasses, the windows, all of these. Okay, so you get the basic idea on what type of material or Revit files that we can import. So let me show you one last model. Then we will proceed to the last content of our workshop. Okay. Again, I'm going to go to the BIM model, import the Revit file. This time I'm going to choose the last one. And let's see what type of project this is. I really do hope that you guys are enjoying this session, because I think that TIO will really bring an impact to many of you, especially if you're using Revit models. So this one, I'm just going to select one reference floor, click OK. So here we are importing the beam. And let's see what else do we have. Slab, column, railing, staircase, pile cap, composite column, steel. So maybe this one is also factory, maybe just with a different design. So let's see. This one looks a bit bigger than the one earlier. And it's done. Okay, so click OK. Then let's have a look in 3D. So this is the project of the Revit. You can see outside there are the railings surrounding. So maybe they need to consider the slab outside here, which is why they have drawn the slabs outside here as well. Even here, you can see the railing. And I'm guessing this is the office area. So you can just basically view the whole model. And this is, I think this is the entrance to go in the area or the office or even warehouse. To identify or even select each of the layers of the entities. For example, you only want to hide the walls. You can see you can have a look at the shortcut key. So this is W. So press W, you will hide all of the walls. You click again or you type again, it will show the walls. You click on C, it will hide the column. Click again, it will show the column again. So this is one way where you can double check or have a look at the model. Okay. Now let's move on to the next part. Now that we have understand on how TIO works, let's proceed to Cubicost Cloud. Now, what is Cubicost Cloud? It is basically a web-based management platform, which as long as we have finished TAS or TIO projects, we can upload all of the files into Cubicost Cloud. So Cubicost Cloud will allow us to share the project in an online platform to all of our clients or even colleagues, all of those. So in here, we basically have two roles. The first one is like a manager, where we can set the restriction of the accounts. And the second one is like a normal account where you can just save the file. You can try to share files to the others. And in Cubicost Cloud, we have 4 types of spaces. The first one is project space. Second is employee space. Third is shared space. And the last one is outside collaboration. So the differences is that the project space is like you're running a project. Let's say you're running a school project. So whoever you want to involve in this project, you can add them in. So only the ones inside the project space will be able to view the files here. Employee space is like your own personal space. So whatever you share here can only be viewed by you yourself. Shared space is anything that you share here will be able to view by everyone. Outside collaboration is after we have sent a link to share with outsiders, it will be shown here. Now let's have a look at the video here. So for Cubicost Cloud, it will look something like this. These are the spaces. Then we can upload our project, and this is how we share. The first option is to share our project with our colleagues. We can select which one we want to share to. Okay, then the second option is that we can share with outsiders. To share with outsiders, we first need to have permission from the manager account. So the manager account have to set this as okay. Once we have changed the permission, we can go back to our employee space. Then we can share with outsiders. Here we can select whether we want the link to last for 1 day, 7 days, or even 30 days. Then we can even set the share permission as review or preview and download. Once we have done all of that, we can create the link and get the verification code. Then the client or whoever outside there, they can just go to this website and key in the code. Then they can view the model in 3D. So basically in TIO or TAS, whatever you can see for the zones, for the element type, quantity expression, even the report, all of these can be viewed in the Cubicost Cloud as well. So this is our 3D model. You can see each of the floors. Then you can also check all of the elements. Then of course, we can also rotate, view in 3D. You can even view the section as well. So imagine if you're at the site, you need to check the section. You can just click on it and change like this. Now, the next one, you can also check the common attribute, all of the calculation attribute, and of course, the quantity and expression. And lastly, the report. So even if you're at the site, you do not have a PC, you do not have TS or TIO running, you just need your mobile phone, you log in, then you can have a look at the quantity report. If you find anything wrong with your model, you can actually leave some comments or even do some markup. So it looks something like this. So let's give you a better idea on how it looks like. In Cubicost Cloud, if you want to do some adjustment, or even if you just want to check what is the distance, we have a toolbar here for you to measure the distance. Then the next one, we can do some clouding, leave some comments, for example, like this, and then we click OK and key in your comment. Okay, now we will try to do another comment here. And then on the right-hand side, this is where we check on the comments. If you just try to click on one of the comments, it will bring you directly to the location. So it'll be like this. You just click, and it will bring you to the location of the markup. So, so far we have already explained on how TIO works and also how Cubicost can collaborate with our TIO or TAS, meaning to say everything that you have done in TIO, you can just upload into Cubicost Cloud, and you can share all of those information among your colleagues or even clients. So here we are going to share with you the advantages of Cubicost. The first one, of course, you improve our working efficiency. Second, with just one click, which we have shown in the demonstration, we can generate the quantities from BIM models, such as Revit or even IFC files. It is also suitable for all construction stages, pre and post contract, even construction stage, because you'll be receiving drawings and even Revit models throughout all the stages. Now, the fourth one is to ease the work of a QS. As a QS, we need to plan, we need to manage all of those quantities. And by using the Revit changes, we can easily identify the changes in addendum models. Now that we have cloud platform, we can have better coordination. So even if you have subcontractors, they can also view our model and make sure that all of the works are going accordingly, and many more. So if you guys have any questions, just let us know.